What's up, guys? It's Campbell. Here with my ePortfolio, just wrapping up on the year in RC 1000. Just a little bit about myself. My full name's Campbell Nixon. I'm a first-year student here at App, and my major is currently supply chain management. My hobbies and interests outside of school include playing sports, hanging out with my friends, exercising, and playing video games. I really enjoy to play video games with my friends, we're just hanging out. And that leads me to not only my personal practice, but my essay topic, which is violent video games / playing violent video games. So for my paper, not only did I just write about video games, but I wrote about how they affect the people who play them, how they affect mass shootings. Not only that, but I also wrote about the gun debate, and maybe how to solve this problem of mass shootings in America. Because, right now many people think it's because of violent video games, but my paper kind of proves that otherwise. So during my paper, reading back on it, I'd say, yeah, I am satisfied with how my paper represents what I learned, what I researched, what I wrote about. Many of the main points in my paper match all the research I put in. Researching it for hours. I made sure that all my sources, everything I included in my essay matched my main points. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that. Some of the course goals I'd say I knocked out with this paper were writing with a strong voice and authority and drafting with a clear purpose in mind. Writing with a strong voice and authority, in our coffee groups, I received many compliments throughout the year on the voice I have in my writing. So people complimented me saying I had a strong voice in my writing. So yeah, I'd say I knocked out that goal pretty well. And with drafting with a clear purpose, I put in hours researching with our source searches, doing rough drafts. We made 3 rough drafts for our paper alone. So I'd say I drafted with a clear purpose in mind. I never changed my topic. I knew what I wanted to write about from the start. I knew what I wanted to put in my paper. So yeah, I'd say I drafted with a pretty clear purpose, and I knew what I wanted to do. After we wrote our paper, we moved into a podcast. I worked with one of my classmates, Sam, because we wrote about the same topic in our essays. So obviously it makes sense to make the podcast together. In our podcast, we talked about pretty much the same thing as our papers. We really went in deep on the gun control debate. And I just say that the hardest thing, switching gears from the paper to the podcast, was just putting stuff into words that people would want to hear in our podcast. It's hard making it sound nice on the podcast as opposed to a paper, but I thought we did it pretty well. Not only that, but the editing, that's another different thing. From the paper to the podcast, that's a lot harder. When we switched gears, that was definitely one of the more difficult things we did. 2 of the goals I'd say I knocked out when making this podcast were proofreading effectively, obviously, because, we put in a lot of effort into the editing. That was almost the hardest part. So I'd say we definitely proofread it effectively. Not only that, but we used a variety of technology to produce and share our thoughts, obviously, not only with the paper, but when we made the podcast. Using the editing apps, using SoundCloud, we used a pretty large range of technology to get our points across. And I was definitely more excited to make the podcast than the paper. I was excited, to hear my own voice, hear what I had to say, and just listen back on it, and thought that was cool. But not only that, I was excited to hear the feedback from the podcast in the comment section. We got a lot of good comments on our podcast. One of my favorite ones was that someone said that as they got further into the podcast, they became more triggered. And I liked that because it let me know that, we kind of sparked a little bit of argument between a couple people. And you can just read about that in our podcast comments. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Closing thoughts, I'd say I'm pretty proud of what I've done in RC 1000 this year. We put a lot of effort. We had a lot of discussions in class. Lots of research for both the podcast and the paper. So, and I feel like I put in a lot of effort, and I feel like that effort paid off, and I feel like it shows in my final products. So yeah, I would say I am proud of the work I put in RC 1000. Not only that, but I also think it is important that we're able to relay our information to different audiences of people and explain it well to different audiences of people. Because I think if you believe in something and you want to share it to other people, you have to know how to convey this same information to different groups of people. Because if you're gonna reach, as many people as you want, you have to know how to explain the same info over and over again to different groups, and you have to be able to reach and educate different groups of people. And I think that's important. So yes, I do think conveying the same info to different audiences is important. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks guys for a great year. Thanks for all the support on both the projects, or all the projects we did. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.